This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Sean Cole, and welcome to today's edition of the Pitstop. Today's sim racing news given to you for open discussion, so instead of just giving you a picture and the story given to you by those vendors, we'll call them, it's an opportunity for us to actually talk about today's sim racing news and critique them in some cases and applaud them in others. So we do have a bit to cover, and I'm always interested to hear of anything that you have out there, something that maybe I missed out on, and that you might want to bring to my attention for today's news as well. So let's go ahead and get going with our topics. And the first topic, I don't have any real news on, but the first topic is obviously Forza Motorsport 7. At this point, if you're interested and you bought it, you've already had a chance to try it out, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the game or sim, whatever you want to call it. I'd like to hear your thoughts on where you think it falls. Is it a full arcade racer? Is it a simcade, being kind of a hybrid between sim and arcade? Or is it a full-blown sim? I'd love your thoughts on that. And for those of you who have tried both Project Cars 2 and Forza 7, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how they compare to each other. I did do a stream yesterday. You got some of my initial thoughts on Forza Motorsport 7. I will do another stream today where I'll test out multiplayer. So we'll see how it works with the matchmaking system and some of the people out there running it and see what kind of competition we can find. So I'd love your thoughts once again on Forza. I see Tom says there's a few minor issues on the PC and got no windowed mode. In windowed mode, got no race sounds. I've had a little trouble with windowed mode versus full screen. I also heard, and I haven't tried, that if you go to native mode, it will run at triple screens on the PC version. I haven't tried that myself. Hello, British Columbia. And Tom saying full-blown arcade game. I tend to agree with you. Very cool, Paul. Thank you very much. I'll get that out right away. Hello, South Florida. Din Commander 4. Angel, no, I have to confess, I have not tried it that way. Let me know what it does and whether it's worth trying. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, everybody here, part of the pit crew, talking about today's sim racing news. So again, big topic today, Forza. I'm going to tell you off the bat, I had a lot of fun with Forza. Was it a full-blown sim? No, not in my mind. Was it a simcade? I have to call it a simcade because there was a hint of penalty for doing the wrong thing. And when I think of a full arcade racer, I think it's the kind of thing where the guardrail is going to just keep you going no matter what. Limited competition, super duper rubber band effect, things like that when I think of an arcade game. I definitely think it's a step up from that, and it has a lot of sim elements put into an arcade racer. The graphics and the sounds are just some of the best you're going to see from the industry, period. End of story. It is an automotive catalog, as I said in the stream. You know, you can do the whole auto vista and get around and look at the cars and get in them. You can drive them, hear them, feel them, crash them. You know, there's a lot to love about Forza. If you're a full-blown sim racer, maybe not so much, unless you're just looking for a diversion game and you want it to still be automotive. Yeah, Steam King, that's a great example. Outrun is a perfect example of an arcade racer. And this, to me, is definitely a step up from that in terms of towards the direction of sim. So, this not too grade with a wheel. Krabby, I love using a wheel on Forza. It's not needed. You can run with a controller for sure. But I definitely prefer the wheel. Hello, Brunswick, Canada. And GT Sport next month. Yes, that's going to be a big deal as well. Anyway, so that's all I just wanted to mention Forza. I mean, I don't have any real big news on it other than it is out and you can be driving it. Yeah, and Spatial saying maybe when it's on sale would be a good time for him. Project Cars 2. I don't have any real big news on Project Cars 2 other than I did notice there is a giveaway going on between them and Thrustmaster. They're both touting. I thought they had it as well over here. But there is a contest, so if you go to the Project Cars Twitter feed, you can find this link, and they are giving away a TMX and a copy of Project Cars 2. So TMX is a fine wheel for running, you know, either game we're talking about, Project Cars 2 or Forza Motorsport 7. A good starter wheel. I'm not going to give it any more props than that. It is a good starter wheel, though. Hey, Crazy Dan. Brunswick, Georgia. Hello. And just catching up with your guys' comments and opinions on Forza. It is gorgeous, and that's something in its own. Hello, Ricmotech. I have you in today's news. I saw something new at your website as well. A little teaser. A couple teaser photos in a row from you guys, actually. I covered you as well yesterday. We talk real-life racing a little bit, Manny. We have one topic that overlaps into real racing. We are predominantly a sim racing show, but almost every sim racer at heart wants to race for real. So either they save up money and spend their money or their inheritance or their lottery winnings on racing. That's pretty common for our group. Hey, AJ, yes, I remember talking to you. Wonderful. Wonderful, thank you. Hello, Croatia. Yes, please hit that like, hit that follow, hit that subscribe, any of the buttons that help promote our channel. Even better, share it. Share the link to this show on your Facebook feed. Let people know what we're doing. Let people know how hard we're working to not only bring you the sim racing news and sim racing topics, but good quality sim racing reviews, insightful stuff on how to be faster, all that good stuff. We're so much deeper than just the news or just the reviews here. Anyway, next up is Raceroom. We've been talking about Sepang. They put out a little video today, and it's giving you some of the sights and sounds, which is very cool. This is a fun track to drive, so this is something I'm very, very much looking forward to, and a good reason to get into Raceroom, just to try out that track in particular. And Hella Corsa app. I'll have to check that one out. So many apps for the games now. It's fantastic. It's like, depending on what you're trying to be or do in sim racing, it's going to really enhance things. And, oh, I got the sound going. Let me pause that. So, Sector 3 also has a post there talking about the Sepang track. And it's kind of funny because in this version, they're talking about the drains. I remember there was that drain issue where they're lifting up on the track. So, the little joke photo showing you the drains. You can see them embedded into the curbing there, and they guarantee us that they are well placed into the cement and not going to be a problem. Oh, I need to try that Hella Corsa app for sure. No problem, Spatial. That's why we are all here together. We all are looking to cover each other's backs, including me. Sometimes I'll say something wrong, and I am dependent on you guys to make that correction for me. And help me out. That's why we do this as the pit crew, and why instead of it just being cut and paste news, we can talk about and debate. You know, you give a wrong price, somebody corrects you, and then we discuss the new price. So thank you for your input, and thank you for the correction, everybody. Beyond that, I'm just mentioning World's Fastest Gamer one more time, because you know I'm really caught up in this competition, and any competition with a big prize. Anyway, there's a little video here showing you another one of the finalists, Ryan Moore. So, if you want to know, in anticipation of the 10 guys who are going to have this opportunity to possibly, you know, be a simulator driver for McLaren, you're going to get to know all of the guys who are going to be in that final 10, so that you can kind of play your own favorites based on personality and maybe what they've done to earn or achieve their way into this competition. So, if you haven't, stay on top of World's Fastest Gamer. It is the biggest prize in sim racing as of today. That'll change tomorrow for sure. Thrustmaster, I only brought this up because, again, they're also part of that contest, so they have their exciting photo here, but it's basically pitching the same thing, that contest for the TMX wheel and a copy of Project Cars 2. Next up, Ricmotech in the house, little teaser photo. You know Mod 31 for my direct drive wheel is one of my favorite adapters from Ricmotech. Getting that Momo wheel, the Thrustmaster sandwich plate, I'm going to call it, with the buttons and shifters onto my Momo, and then onto the direct drive wheel for a very affordable price. I mean, some of the wheels I see for direct drive wheels run up into the thousands of dollars very quickly. Anyway, it looks like Ricmotech has stepped things up one step further with a little bit of carbon fiber trim. Also, I like those little switches. I can see that being very handy, and for me, memorizing and remembering what my buttons do is so much easier when there are a variety of colors or spots or shapes or ways of activating them. So you know you're going to remember what the switches do versus the buttons. So a little cool thing. And if you're not familiar with Ricmotech, they make a whole selection of products and parts for sim racing. A lot of them are mods that can enhance existing products. They make sim rigs in the works. One of my favorite companies, and they are a sponsor of the show, so thank you very much, Ricmotech, and I proudly say your name and use your products. Your Real Gear pedals are my all-time favorite pedals, hands down. Next up, Sim Racing Hardware. They did do a patch, Build 180 they're calling it, and it's going to support P-Cars too. So that is a nice thing for those who play P-Cars and use Sim Racing Hardware products. They are actively getting word out that, or actively supporting the new titles, starting with P-Cars too. Yes, Tom, that setup was absolutely fantastic, so thank you very much, Cy. William, sitting in an RS1, one of my favorite builds ever. Ever. I mean it, ever. Next up, Reiza Studios. I haven't talked about Automobilista all that much. I haven't talked about... Whoops, I got a little message there from Henry of Sim Racing Systems. But they have an update coming with some new cars, and they're calling this the Brazilian TC, I'm assuming, Touring Classics. And this looks like a bug in a Scirocco. I had a 79 Scirocco, and I have to tell you, it was one of my all-time favorite cars. And that sure does look like an unbranded Scirocco to me. I don't see any badges, but boy, does that look like my old car. And again, really fun car to drive. They were, you know, underpowered cars, but VW engines always were kind of torquey. So a little tiny car like this with a little torquey motor is a really fun combination. And anyway, that was one of my favorite cars that I've owned. I've owned a lot of cars, some of them cool, some of them not. In my opinion, that was one of the cool. I actually had Momo wheels and a Momo steering wheel on it. It was a cool car. Just getting back to some of you guys. And I have not tried Super FOV with back screen projection. Tell us a little bit about it. Maybe it's something I'll look into. So give me more details. I'm always looking for cool stories. Sometimes they work for the show here, the news show. Sometimes they work for full topics. VW bug with failing brakes. You know, somebody asked, do we talk real life racing? This isn't racing, but I remember I borrowed a friend's bug and I was coming down a hill for an intersection and I hit the brakes, nothing happens. Hit them again, nothing happens. I start pumping them, and I start to get like maybe 10% brake pressure. And in the end, I was going to run that intersection no matter what, and I had a couple of choices, turn left, turn right, or go straight. And in the end, I was able to judge what traffic was going on, and I just punched it. I actually got on the gas and punched it for a gap and blew through the intersection. But there was no way I was going to stop with the failing VW bug brakes. So apparently I'm not the only one who's experienced that from VW bugs. Another one of my all-time favorite cars. I've never owned a bug, but I've driven like probably 5 different bugs that friends have owned. Everything from just beater bugs to completely ready for drag racing bugs. Emergency brake. You know, Tom, I didn't even think of that at the time. That would have been a smart thing to try. For all I know, on that particular bug, it didn't even have an emergency brake hooked up. This thing was the beater bug that was like... anything they could do to hold the car together was what was being used. Only about half of it was still VW parts. Next thing, yesterday we talked about jobs, job opportunities in the sim racing industry. CXC, you know, and I'm not telling you this, but they're looking for an engineer. iRacing is looking for a web developer. They're looking for senior develops engineers. They're looking for customer support specialists. And they're looking for a media producer. So if you think you're great at making videos and you have a desire to work in the sim racing industry, put a resume together and contact iRacing. There's 4 different positions just at iRacing. I mentioned Codemasters always hiring. You know, yes, if you love this sport, you love this hobby, you love this industry, get a job in it. You're going to, you know, I can't remember the exact wording of the quote, but do something you love and you never work a day in your life. And I don't believe it to be 100% true. Because work is still work, and even the best days of the best things still have, even the best things have their worst days. But you're going to be a lot happier in general in life if you do things that you love, and then find a way to make money doing it. They also say, do what you love and the money will follow. I do not believe that. You need to make the money follow, but you need to find that hybrid between what you love doing and what pays you well enough to accommodate the lifestyle that you want. That is the trick of life. And then, like we said yesterday, being a go-getter, grabbing the bull by the horn. So again, if you want to work in this industry, there are 4 positions. If one of them fits your skill set, talk to them. Go, you could move to Boston. I don't know, all these require you moving. Some of them might be off-site. So, anyway, just want to continue with that kind of mentality. We're always looking for everything in our industry. This is the True Hobbyist Show. We're looking at it from every angle. Next topic. This is something I kind of made a mess of yesterday. I meant to talk about the B-Team Lotus, and I kind of failed because I got so off topic talking about me being able to drive this car. And the real point was for me to talk about what they did, which was they scanned the car that they run in Lemons. So this weekend at Buttonwillow, California, is the 24-hour Lemons race. B Team, as they go by, which is a combination of friends of mine who, a handful of them work for CXE Simulations, Chris Constantine, the owner, and Brian, one of their engineers. They both work on and drive this car, and they scanned it for CXE in Assetto Corsa so that they could drive it. And yesterday I showed a real small clip of this car running at Nürburgring, or Nordschleife, I should say. And I really meant to talk about that and show you the car, and I ended up talking about me driving the car. Well, today they have another little video, and they did one more thing they had promised me, and I didn't think was going to actually happen. And that was, this is so cool. They actually laser scanned Buttonwillow. I'm not sure it's laser scanned. They got Buttonwillow built for them as well. So I have driven this car at this track. That is the main building, the only real building at Buttonwillow. And the reason I'm talking about this is it's so cool that they've done this. And when you look at the modeling they did, I've been in this car, so if the driver would look to the right, let's see if we can find it. There we go. Here's our interior look around. This is exactly what this car does look like. Those switches, that is the cool suit ice box there. The kill switch is exactly where it was. These dials on the dash, the not working but original clock in the center dash. This is the Chodas. And they built it. So I mentioned they are going to race the Lemons race at Buttonwillow this weekend. They're bringing 2 simulators that are wrapped to match the Chodas, and the Chodas actually came in 3 different paint schemes over the years. Here's the yellow llama, they call it, version, and let me see if I can cue this video up to the right spot. They also did this, the old gold leaf version of Formula. These are all old Lotus schemes, and then the John Player Special, which most people would know if you're a long-time car fan. Anyway, they have scanned the car, they have scanned the track, they are bringing 2 full-motion simulators to the race at Buttonwillow this weekend, and anybody who lives in the Southern California or mid-state area of California, anybody who wants to get in a long drive, can go hang out with the B Team, watch the Lemons race, and drive the simulators. There's a little one-to-one between the original Lotus and the Chodas, we'll call it. And Chodas is obviously a combination between Lotus and Chevrolet because it is a Chevy V8-powered Lotus, which in this body is not as good as it sounds because it is a flimsy fiberglass car. And anyway, I talk about Lemons often. We talk about real-life racing a little bit, and one of the easiest ways for a sim racer to get into real-life racing is Lemons. And as much as you go to the website and it seems like it's a joke, when taken seriously by many of the drivers, it is not a joke. It is some pretty competitive racing. It's just, you get an interesting class of cars and an interesting class of characters, but it is a lot of fun, and it is, you know, to me, it's racing on one of its purest levels when you talk about the camaraderie and what's going on in the paddock and the whole way it runs. And there are a few, I'm not trying to single out Lemons, there are a few different, there's Chump Car, there's Lemons, there are a lot of different one of these $500 racing series that you can enter, and they all have the right thing at heart, that's for sure. Lucky Dog's another one that I've run with or been around. So, I'm not going to be there this weekend, unfortunately. I would love to have been, but not going to be able to make it there this weekend. So that is, yeah, it's at Buttonwillow with the Lemons. So if you go to 24 Hour Lemons, it is the Button Terrible, I believe is what they call the event. And I don't think it's up for download, and I don't think they're going to make it downloadable either, but I don't know. Send them an email, I guess, or bother them. But more importantly, if you're in the neighborhood, go check it out. It should be really cool. They're just going to have those sims running on their dime for everyone to enjoy. I don't think there's a huge sales opportunity for them. This is just them sort of doing their thing and being CXE simulations, to be honest with you. So that is it for today's news. I will bring up the pit stop map real quick. We've had a few additions in the last week, so you can see things are getting more and more filled in with our coverage and viewers from all over the world. I'd like to thank you all for being part of the pit crew and doing this along with me. In addition to that, I want to give you a little update on some scheduling things. I will be doing this is Button Willow. So, Streets of Willow is Willow Springs, where they have the big track, and then they have Streets of Willow, which is more of a tighter, windier track. Button Willow is very big and simple and fast. Streets of is very tight and windy with a very long downhill or uphill, depending which way they go, version. I've run a go-kart race at Streets of Willow, but I've never run on Big Willow, to be honest with you. So, but they're often confused because they're both Southern California tracks, and there's a lot of racing that goes on at both, so you hear their names brought up all the time. You will find Willow Springs in a handful of sims. It's a very known test track, is what its best claim to fame could be. It was also the track that they did all the training for Toyota Celebrity Race when that still existed. So, on to scheduling. I'm going to be back in probably about an hour and a half, and I am going to be doing another stream with Forza Motorsport 7. And the point of that will be for you guys to, well, not you guys, but see me go through that step 2 of my review when I move into career mode and move into multiplayer. But today it is open to the world, so when we join multiplayer, we'll be up against everybody. That'll be kind of fun. That is going on today in about an hour and a half, probably about 11 o'clock is my goal for that show. And we'll do about an hour and a half long stream. This evening, we'll have our second race of the week for Sim Racing Systems in the Porsche Carrera Cup. That is going to be from Silverstone. And again, I'll thank Cy Yip because your setup drastically improved what I was doing there over my setup. So thank you very much. And if you'd like to join us with that racing, it's in Assetto Corsa. You'll need the Porsche Pack 1 DLC in order to run with us for that race. And head over to simracingsystem.com and you can join in there and find out all the details on how to run with us this evening. That'll be 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific time this evening. Tomorrow morning we will be here for the Sim Tunnel, our open discussion on topics. I don't have a special guest. It'll be just me and you guys tomorrow. I want to talk about sim racers versus alien racers. And it's a topic that we've touched upon a lot over the last couple of years with the Simpit. But it's something I want to go into greater detail, and I'd love to hear your guys' feedback and opinion on as well on the little and the big differences between a sim racer and an alien racer, and what makes it so hard to make that jump from being a really good sim racer to being one of these guys who have the capability of winning some of these competitions that are now starting to pay big, big money. So, and we can talk about that tomorrow, Tom. So tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific time, that's an hour later than we started today's show tomorrow, and that will just be open discussion, one topic, until we've hashed out all the good, the bad, and the ugly on that topic. So that is for tomorrow. I will be off on Sunday. We will be back for the news on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. News will be my last broadcast, and then I'm out of town. And I'll just let you guys know up front, I'm actually doing a special event with CXE Simulations. I'm going to be in New York at Monticello, which is a private racetrack. They have a Concours d'Elegance event going on there, and CXE is bringing a few sims, so I'll be there teaching people how to do some driving. That's what I usually do with the sims, is do the orientation, get people in the sims, and make sure they can keep it on track and have fun doing so. So that is what I will be out of town, and that will be from Wednesday on for about 6 days. So we will be off the air for a full week, it looks like, and I apologize for that, but I do have to take care of other business as well. I hope you'll give me that much room. Anyway, that is today's show. Thank you very much for being part of the pit crew. Thank you very much for being here, ready to chime in on your opinions on these topics and always having new things for me to look into. I really appreciate it. Couldn't do the show without you guys. And I don't know if it's actually open to the public. Monticello is a private track. It probably is open to the public, but you probably have to buy tickets through a special method, I would think, something along those lines. So, but I will be there. It's upstate, I believe, a little out of New York, not in the city. But I'm looking forward to that. Should be fun. Should be some incredible cars. Hopefully I'll get some cool photos and maybe even some video just to show you some of the things that I see while I'm there on vacation. I call these vacations because, again, I have a lot of fun on these trips. So despite it being work, that gets back to what I was saying about getting in there and finding a job in the industry. If you love what you do, then you don't feel like you work a single day in your life. So that's my final word of today's show. Thank you much for being here. This is the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.